America's nuclear submarines can stay submerged and hidden from prying eyes for up to 3 months or more at a time, and these vessels may need to be resupplied while at sea. There are a number of resupply options available to these stealthy war machines, ranging from small drones to massive cargo aircraft. These submarines are attacking machines that offer the much-needed stealth, flexibility, and accuracy in neutralizing air, land, and sea targets under cover of the deep blue seas. Despite the long core life that permits submarines to go for 20 years without refueling, these powerful machines have one major shortcoming. They can only carry up to 120 days' worth of food for the crew on board. They require regular resupply. Replenishing a submarine is usually done by the submarine pulling into port or receiving at replenishment from a surface ship. It is a slow process that can take weeks to plan and execute. In its faster, cheaper, and more effective replenishment alternatives for forward-based submarines, the U.S. Navy achieved a historic milestone in October 2020. A nuclear submarine was resupplied by air during 4-day testing around the Hawaiian Islands. The Ohio class of nuclear-powered submarines includes the United States Navy's 14 ballistic missile submarines and its 4 cruise missile submarines. Each of these displaces 18,750 tons submerged. The Ohio class are the largest submarines ever built for the U.S. Navy. They are the world's third-largest submarines, while the Russian Navy's Soviet-designed 24,000-ton Burai class takes the second place and 48,000-ton Typhoon class takes the first place. The Ohio-class submarines carry more missiles than the Burai class and the Typhoon class. The 14 SSBNs together carry about half of U.S. active strategic thermonuclear warheads. The Trident missiles have no press-at targets when the submarines go on patrol, but they can be given targets quickly from the United States Strategic Command, based in Nebraska, using secure and constant radio communication links, including very low-frequency systems. To stay hidden, these submarines surface very rarely, if at all, during what could be a months-long patrol underwater. Not even senior military leaders will know where the submarine is at any given time. That is a privilege available only to the submarine's senior leaders. The crew regularly train for the unthinkable, like the launch of a nuclear-armed missile in a retaliatory strike against a country that has carried out a strategic attack against the United States. The United States maintains these 14 nuclear-powered Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines to serve as the sea-based leg of America's nuclear triad. These submarines serve alongside the triad's airborne leg, bombers like the B-52 and B-2, and the land-based leg comprised of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Both Russia and China employed nuclear triads of their own using similar methodologies. As a part of the nuclear triad, these submarines need to stay at sea for extended periods of time. They ensure America's sea-based nuclear deterrent remains viable. However, since they can only store around 90 days' worth of food on board at a time, the submarines sometimes need to be resupplied while they are out on the open sea. If a large-scale conflict were to break out with a near-peer and nuclear-capable adversary like China, these submarines would serve as an essential bit of posturing, ensuring China doesn't launch a nuclear strike against the United States through the nuclear doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The premise behind MAD is very simple. America's nuclear triad ensures that no nuclear attack could completely destroy all 3 methods of nuclear weapon delivery available to the United States. This means that a nation planning a first-strike nuclear attack can rest assured that America will respond with its own nuclear weapons in kind. MAD is effectively a promise between opposing nations that says, if we go, you go with us. This is the reason why America's ballistic submarines have adopted the nickname boomers. So what is the restocking process of the submarine? A news crew got the opportunity to videotape the process on the Navy's most deadly ship, an Ohio-class submarine armed with 24 Trident D5 nuclear missiles. This is what they recorded. They arrived at Pearl Harbor Naval Base, where at the dock they filmed men loading the Malama, a 110-foot personnel transfer vessel with fresh fruits and vegetables, parts and supplies that were going to be delivered to the submarine. They then rowed the Malama to a secret meeting point in the ocean to rendezvous with the warship. They got on the Pennsylvania, the submarine, and this is how they saw the submarine be restocked. First, the submarine is cruised toward the transfer ship. Just before reaching the submarine, it slows while the resupply ship is allowed to approach. Sailors on the submarine wearing life jackets and harnesses emerge from the hatch. 2 sailors toward the front and 2 toward the rear roll the cleats, which means flipping up horn-shaped devices that are used for securing ropes. 2 sailors on the resupply ship throw ropes up, one for each of the cleats, to tie the ships together. Then the crew on the supply ship extend a ramp onto the submarine, allowing for a few sailors to board the resupply ship. Next comes the transfer of supplies. A crane on the Malama lifted huge nylon bags, each about the size of a smart car. 2 were hoisted at a time onto the crest of the submarine. 2 sailors then untied the bags from the crane and dragged them towards the hatch. Here the sailors took these boxes of food and supplies out of the bags and passed them down a line of sailors, one to another, and ultimately into the submarine. Nearly a dozen resupply bags were transferred. Eventually, the men on the submarine disconnected the lines that kept the 2 ships together. The last of the sailors entered the submarine through the hatches, and then the Pennsylvania disappeared beneath the waves and into the dark water. In order to keep these submarines well stocked while at sea, the U.S. Navy also tested delivering supplies through air. It tested delivering supplies from 4 different airborne platforms. First, a U.S. Navy sailor controlled a small quad-rotor drone that could deliver small items or pieces of equipment to a surface sub. Then a U.S. Navy M-60 Seahawk delivered a slightly larger payload, before a U.S. Marine Corps MV-22B Osprey came in with another. Finally, a U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster airdropped another delivery as it flew overhead. Rear Admiral Converse explained, "That was specifically with our strategic forces, and the purpose of that was to exercise our ability to maintain our ballistic submarines at sea and fully ready. Whether it be a small part delivered by a UAV, if it maintains the submarine fully operational because it fixes their atmospheric control system or weapon system, or whether it be a resupply of food or other logistics or medical capabilities that they need to continue on their mission. We exercise those things to demonstrate the ability to keep our submarines at sea." U.S. Strategic Command, USSTRATCOM, recently demonstrated the capability to replenish U.S. Navy ballistic missile submarines operating at sea using different types of aircraft to deliver supplies. During the months of July and August 2022, U.S. Navy M-60R Seahawk helicopters, a U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster II cargo aircraft, and U.S. Marine Corps MV-22B Osprey tiltrotor aircraft delivered supplies by vertical replenishment to U.S. Jackson, SSBN 730, and U.S. Nevada, SSBN 733, while operating off the coast of Southern California. Replenishing the ballistic missile submarines at sea increases the range and survivability of these strategic platforms and demonstrates the ability to resupply SSBNs anywhere in the world while underway, ultimately enhancing readiness. This is done mainly to show the allies and adversaries that they have the ability to keep their submarines at sea. This allows us to maintain an unpredictable forward presence and continued demonstration of the unmatched strength of our strategic forces. This shows them that we are ready, says U.S. Navy Captain Kelly Lang, a director of maritime operations for Commander of Submarine Group 9 at Naval Base Kitsap Bangor, Washington. In addition to vertical replenishments, U.S. Henry M. Jackson and U.S. Nevada also conducted communications exercises with strategic aircraft that included a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber and a U.S. Navy E-6B Mercury Take Charge and Move Out, or TACAMO aircraft. These events validated the interoperability between the SSBN, the B-52, and E-6B and exercised established tactics, techniques, and procedures to explore alternative methods of communications. Ballistic missile submarines are one leg of the United States nuclear triad that also includes the U.S. Air Force's land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles ICBMs and B-2 and B-52H nuclear-capable strategic bombers. Each part of the triad provides unique capabilities and advantages. SFVNs are an undetectable launch platform and are the most survivable leg. The U.S. Department of Defense anticipates a continued need for a sea-based strategic nuclear force. The first of the current Ohio-class SSBNs is expected to retire by 2029. The replacement submarine might be seaworthy by that time. A replacement may cost over $4 billion per unit, compared to Ohio's $2 billion. Although America's main nuclear deterrent glides undetected under the oceans as it carries a cargo of ballistic missiles, we hope it will never be used. What do you think about this process? Are there other ways to replenish these submarines? Let us